And welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast. I'm your host, Anish Gupta.
And I'm your host, Srikar.
We are back, and we are going to continue what we did last time, which was kind of just a review of what each AFC team kind of needs. And obviously, we'll focus towards the draft because free agency is kind of already over. I know there's been some kind of big news with the signings and things like that. So why don't we let's touch on Odell's because he was on the Ravens and it's our AFC team. We'll focus on the other one, which was obviously Jalen Hurts when we talk about the Eagles. But yeah, quick note, he signed a 1-year deal worth, I believe, up to $18 million in incentives with 15 of it guaranteed. I'll just give a quick reaction. Look, I think I've been pretty vocal for guys who've been watching this for long. I'm not the biggest Odell fan. It's not that I'm a hater or anything. I just don't think he's ever warranted, that wide receiver one status since really 2017, when he, or 2018, sorry, before he went to the Browns. I mean, with the Browns, obviously, I had high hopes. I kind of got it shut down in 2019, and then I lost all hope. But yeah, 18 mil and 15 mil guaranteed for a guy who's torn his ACL twice in 2.5 years is pretty crazy, especially because I think he's 29 and he's about to turn 30 soon. So, I mean, I know it's 1-year deal, but do we really I mean, he was productive in LA. I won't say that, but I mean, you're going to be asking him to be a number one wide receiver with the ACL tears, to garner all the attention in the world. The AFC North's got some pretty solid secondaries, right? I don't know. I think it's obviously kind of this a high reward, maybe, ceiling type of deal. Just don't really like it.
I'm also very critical of the move. To me, it just reeks of desperation. And the Ravens are traditionally a team that doesn't get desperate. And here, very, very desperate. And I think they were really scared of the Jets getting Odell, so they did this before he went for the visit. But yeah, it's way too much. It's way too much. And it will kind of help you in these Lamar sweepstakes, but at the end of the day, it's too much money. And I think Odell and his agent just did a great job just getting as much as they could. So that's my quick reaction, but I'm ready to head into it. We're going to start off NFC East. The order of the divisions will be the same as our last video. We went East, North, South, West. So we're going to start NFC East here. And we'll start with the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. And for the Eagles, their draft needs mainly tie to who left in free agency, right? The Eagles, they had a lot of big names who left in the market. Look at Javon Hargrave, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Miles Sanders, T.J. Edwards. So I think the Eagles should be targeting linebackers and maybe a defensive tackle to help maintain what was the top-ranked defense in the NFL from a year ago. And also I think finding competition, finding depth at safety would also be smart because right now it's Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds. So you do need some talent there. So they're picking at 10 and they're picking at 30. I don't know how you want to do this, but I think at 10... Well, I think overall it's just going to be a first round where the Eagles attack the trenches, okay? Mainly on the defensive end. They love to build in the trenches. Maybe they would take Bijan Robinson at 10 if he's still there, but here I have them taking Lucas Van Ness, a big, long, athletic edge out of Iowa to add to this defensive front. At 30, it gets a little bit tougher. Kalijah Kancey is a player that I'm not as high on as a lot of other people, but I think he'll still go in the first round here at 30. I think Kancey, he just finds a way to get into the backfield and to the ball carrier on tape, but you kind of have to worry about how his game will translate to the NFL. People have been making the Aaron Donald comparisons. Oh, it's an undersized DT. But with his height, weight, his length, I don't see how he can become an every down player immediately at the next level. But in Philadelphia, especially early in his career, I don't think he's going to have to because he's a complement for Jordan Davis, who's a monster nose tackle, and he could be a valuable piece of that Philly rotation on the D-line. So doubling down here, but I'll go Kalijah Kancey at 30 and at 10 Lucas Van Ness.
That's really interesting. Okay. You kind of summed up the needs. I'll address linebacker a little bit more. They have one true middle linebacker on the depth chart, and that's Nakobe Dean, who I wasn't super high on coming into the draft, and really we haven't seen much of, in terms of like true impact. So yeah, because Kazir White is gone, and look, Philly has some clear needs. I think they want to address actually safety at that pick 30. I think Brian Branch is the guy that they should target, safety out of Alabama. Just because, yeah, I mean, Terrell Edmonds and Reed Blankenship, we've seen both play. Obviously, both have had their separate type of tape. Terrell with Pittsburgh, and then Reed kind of had his own thing in Philadelphia. But I feel like Blankenship benefited a lot from CJ just because CJ was such a hybrid guy. He could play the nickel, he could play up. So that's kind of my take on it. And yeah, I think you make a really good point. They're just going to try and fill the needs that they lost, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be like right away plug and play, but it kind of does because, you've kind of got holes here that are inexperienced. I'm with you a little bit on the defensive tackle, mainly because Fletcher Cox is getting old, but he's there for one more year. So in my kind of mock, I do think Jalen Carter slips. I just don't. I think the concerns about one off the field and then also just the pro day, they have to be taken into consideration here. I mean, I get it. I get the talent and I get the play that he had. But man, I mean, things like this always happen, right? Things right before the draft always kind of hit teams and a little sting them. And I think if he falls to 10, I think the Eagles can take a shot there. I'm actually a really big fan of the Eagles probably trading down at 10. If there's a quarterback still available, like, I don't know, Will Levis, I think I mocked the Vikings trading for him from 23 to 10. I think that's a perfect thing that Philadelphia should look forward to. If you can trade down and get assets in this, kind of round 1 and 2 bubble, you can really easily fill these needs. So that's one thing that I would think to do. And yeah, if you trade back, you could maybe get an edge that's not as good, or maybe you can get a Mozzie Smith from Michigan, who's a defensive lineman, a little bit later, who's a nose tackle, as we were kind of alluding to. I don't know if you could, maybe you could wait and try and get BJ Ojolari a little bit, again, just move a little bit down and try and get him. But yeah, I don't think you really need to necessarily stay at pick 10. I just don't know if, the needs are necessarily there, and I think a team would really want to kind of move up and get it. So
that's fair. Yeah. It's a really interesting draft in that we just don't know what's going to happen. So depending on how the board shakes out, I think it's definitely fair if you want to trade down.
Look, I'm gonna keep it a buck. Obviously, for the last 2 years, the Browns haven't had a pick, so I haven't been super in depth with the draft. But I'm still keeping in touch with it. But man, this is the most unpredictable draft I've ever seen.
It is.
Like, I really do not know. Like, there are so many players that can go. Again, I think I said this last video too, but like, lower 10s, and then there's some those same players could go high 20s. Like, it's weird, especially like, I've been pretty close with the whole scouting thing recently this year, and just still like people don't really have a true sense on where players are going.
Yeah, there's really very few guys who I can consider a top 10 lock. Like, there's really not that many because of the parity on the board. But let's move on here. The Dallas Cowboys, all right. The Cowboys are at an interesting crossroads. I think they're good. They're good enough to contend. But Dallas could still add firepower around Dak Prescott. He lost Dalton Schultz in free agency. Considering the depth of this class, I think the Cowboys should target a tight end over the first 2 days. And also Dallas should continue building the defensive line. The Cowboys have DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons on the edges, but I think the interior needs another weapon. And lastly, the Cowboys are set at corner this year, but they have Stephon Gilmore, Jordan Lewis, and Trayvon Diggs all hitting free agency in 2024. So I would say D-line, corner, and tight end are the biggest needs here. So you're picking at 26. I've seen this a lot. As much as I think the Cowboys would love to have Bijan Robinson or see one of the top wide receivers in this year's draft class fall to their pick, again, this team does need to replace Dalton Schultz. And Michael Mayer is one of the best tight ends in this class, a position group that, again, is absolutely loaded. It might not be a pick that sells a ton of jerseys, but I think Mayer would be a big-time addition to the Cowboys offense, certainly more dynamic in the passing game than Schultz. So at 26, I think the Cowboys got to go Mayer here if he's on the board.
Okay, so the Cowboys, look, I think they could do with another edge. I don't really like Dorrance Armstrong fully. as like a guy that could emerge. I'm with you on the tight end. I don't want to steal your thunder, so I'll let you keep the Mayer pick because I mean, but Jake Ferguson's had some film. And yeah, I think at receiver they're really high on Brandon Cooks. Like I think they're really happy about that move. And yeah, this is kind of where now they're transitioning for CD to be that true X. And Srikar had to, of course, remind me how I wasn't a fan of the pick when they first made it. Keep in mind, I wasn't a fan of the pick, not the player. But yeah, I think CD Lamb is phenomenal. So I think this is a great compliment. So I won't target receiver. Yeah, so edge, I was actually looking at, okay, and it's funny because when Cal played Notre Dame, we had to watch this guy. It's Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, and I think they reach and they take him. I know that's a little bit bold,
26.
but yeah, I know, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a reach. But he's 6'5", he's 264, and maybe this is a little bit biased because I watched him, but my God, he is really good. I think he's got a really good blend of power and explosiveness, and I think he's definitely someone who's solid in technique, somebody that you can use kind of all around the defense. He would be a great complement to Parsons, and I know that's a reach pick, but yeah, that's where I'd go.
Okay, very interesting. I had Foskey going in the second round, like late second round. Yeah, if the Cowboys
Telling
really
you,
want
man,
an
it's
edge
an
that
unpredictable draft, man.
I was thinking
It's
instead of an
unpredictable.
edge, I was thinking maybe DT would be the bigger need, but again, D line, it's a need anyways. All right,
Yeah.
third team here, another team that made the playoffs in this division, the New York Giants. For a team coming off a divisional round appearance, the Giants have a good amount of needs this offseason. Obviously, none are bigger than wide receiver. The Giants have to use an early pick to bolster the talent on the perimeter, giving Daniel Jones a top option, right? The offense, I'd say, also needs to bulk up inside. Finding a guard who can start would be big. So wide receiver and guard on the offense. But also they have to fill in some defensive voids. You lose Julian Love in free agency, so safety's a need, along with cornerback. I think considering corner is the more premium position, so I think that should take higher priority for New York. So I know you're going to take a wide receiver. So because you let me have my little thunder with Michael Mayer, I'll let you have your thunder with receiver. I'll go in a different direction. There have been some rumors that the Giants could be interested in trading for Jerry Jeudy. And with every mock draft scenario I see on the internet, I can't help but wonder why they wouldn't or won't do that. I mean, that would be a great move in my opinion. It looks like the best possible wide receiver in the slot could vary. It could be the top wide receiver. It could be Josh Downs. Who knows? At any rate, the Giants are just left with a situation here that's a little bit sticky. So if you're going to take a receiver here, which I think you will, I'll have them going.
Yeah.
I'll have them going with Emmanuel Forbes here, cornerback out of Mississippi State. Lighter cornerback prospect. He's got great ball skills, great playmaking instincts. So I think if they wanted to go corner here at 25, I think Forbes would be a great guy to get here.
Okay, thank you that you left the receiver to me. Look, we go back and forth on Daniel Jones. I will forever have to go back and forth on Daniel Jones with everybody. Can we please give him somebody on the outside? Look, Isaiah Hodgins is great, but he is not a number one. I'm sorry, he is not. And look, I'm begging that Quentin Johnston falls all the way to 26, 25, wherever they're picking, but he probably won't. So look, if he's there or if he's past pick 20, Giants, please trade up. Like if he's I think he would be a perfect fit. Like he is literally the definition of an X receiver. I think he's 6'4", 215. Dude, I mean, that'd be great. Like you'd finally have a guy that you could push the ball down the field with. So yeah, I know I'm talking to him a lot, but obviously, I don't know if he'd last that long, but okay, yes. If you could trade up, that would be my guy. And yeah, I'm because the problem is after that, there's really not a guy that's like super big, right? I think we were talking about this last time too. Just a bunch of these like 5'10" guys. If I were to pick a receiver though, I would and around the area that they would be picking, I would probably go Josh Downs, as you alluded to. The only problem is he would mostly operate out of the slot. So, and the thing is, Darren Waller, who's a receiving tight end, also operates out the slot. So it would be a little bit hard. I'm trying to look here at my board at least to see anybody else, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna say it. If I think the Giants should trade up for Quentin Johnson. I think I'm just gonna
I
throw that out there.
I agree with you. Like, he's a freak. My only problem with Johnston is the drops, but I think that's fine. That's something that can be
That
fixed.
yeah,
But
so that's kind of I mean yeah, so like when we eval receivers too, that's always like a little bit of a thing. I still think that's teachable, like at least like the whole hands thing, but you can't teach 6'4", 215
no, yeah,
and the way he moves. So
he's definitely
that's
an
kind of
athletic specimen. I get why you'd want to go.
and I honestly don't know. I don't know who the first receiver will be off the board. I mean, I remember last year we had kind of a clear idea, and it was Drake London.
I'm pretty confident.
Right. So yeah, I think JSN's leaning to be that guy, but I think people might even have Johnston 4 with Zay and Jordan Addison up, in the fold. So that's kind of the whole question. Yeah, and I think if Quentin Johnston's falling to around that 20 area, you wouldn't be mad if the Giants traded up for him. I don't think anybody would. So
I wouldn't have a problem with it. I mean, if you're really desperate for a wide receiver one, then he is a wide receiver one. I think he would be that guy. All right. Final team here, Washington Commanders. The Commanders, I'll start with the defense here. They had a solid defense in 2022, but still a lot of that unit's success has been because of a terrific front. I think Washington could use another corner to put into that room, a seasoned room, I should say, with Benjamin St-Juste and Kendall Fuller. On offense, obviously, new guy, offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy. He will want some resources used to bolster this group. Sam Howell is currently slated to be the starting quarterback.
They're putting pieces. They're putting faith in him. So
I've been saying Washington, should provide competition. I don't know if that's going to happen in the first round or like where they're going to go with that in this draft, but yes, as you said, they're putting their faith in Sam Howell. Regardless of the quarterback, I think the Commanders should upgrade at left tackle. Last season, Washington's O-line was really not good. So I think if you can get a bookend tackle, I think it would help. So you're picking at 16. I went corner for the Giants. I'm going to go corner again for the Commanders. They need some players to go on the back end and capitalize on all that pressure that's being generated. I'm going to say Deonte Banks. He's coming from Maryland. He would certainly be well received by this fan base. And although the 16th pick might feel high for him for some people, I think his athleticism definitely warrants this high of a pick. This might be a borderline boring pick for Commanders fans at this point, but look, I think Banks is a really great fit.
I'm with you. Yeah, I think they could go corner. Obviously, if Jory Porter is there, I know we've kind of used his name around, but I mean, it's going to kind of, bleed into each other when teams have the same need. So I'll throw Joey Porter out there as a potential guy. I will address the quarterback thing, though. I think the Jacoby Brissett signing was I think that was their competition. I mean, like, Jacoby played 11 games last year, right? Like,
I'd like 3 bodies in that room, though.
Okay, that's fair. I think Jacoby looked pretty good in the 11 games. Obviously, I'm saying that as a Browns fan, but yeah, I mean, for a guy that we brought in specifically to be a $3.5 million backup, he honestly exceeded expectations. I thought he was really solid. Couple throws here and there that kind of maybe at the end of games that were just bad, but hey, I mean, he's not expected to be a full-time starter. So, yeah, so I'm kind of with you. I think corner is the way to go here. So I'll probably just go Joey Porter. If he somehow slides to 16, you have to take him. Cause yeah, I mean, Kendall Fuller, I like, but Benjamin St-Juste, I think that's how you say it.
St-Juste.
Yeah. So I'm not a really big fan of his game. One thing I am glad though, is that, William Jackson is gone. Yeah. So,
and you know what's funny? I'm a fan of St-Juste. So the Washington corners were just never going to.
Yeah. All right. I think we're good to move on to the new division.
Yep. Let's go to the NFC South. The winners of that division, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Are they really winners? No, but they are. The Buccaneers have lost many key pieces over the past few years, including tight end, an interior offensive line. Devin White has just requested trade, so linebacker.
And Tom Brady.
And yes, I was just going to say quarterback tops the board after Tom Brady's retirement. There's also a problem at left tackle after the release of Donovan Smith. On defense, yep. I think the Buccaneers have to find another corner to play with Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis. This rookie crop is full of good corners, so, I mean, you can wait until the middle rounds if you choose. But yeah, QB, offensive tackle, and cornerback. At 19, I don't remember the players I used in the last video, so forgive me. My board is shaken up a little
Yeah.
bit, so I'll reuse a guy. Broderick Jones. I think he'd be an excellent option at number 19 here in the first round. Give the Bucks an athletic option with really tremendous upside to pair with Tristan Wirfs for the long term. But yeah, the Bucks are obviously going younger and cheaper at some key positions. They're reloading here, and I think this is one of these positions that, it's a must. You have to replace it, and you have to do it with a lot of care. So Broderick Jones is the pick right here at 19.
For any Tampa fans out there, the other day we were shooting around and made a little bet with a friend. I was like, okay, because Baker Mayfield's on the team, and I said, okay, if I make this half court shot, Baker Mayfield's going to win a Super Bowl in Tampa this year. And he was like, okay, and I made it. So anybody who's a bettor out there, place your bets on Tampa.
Oh
Okay,
God.
that was my little Tampa spill. I should have bet on the Browns. I don't know what I was thinking with Tampa, but whatever. Yeah, so I also with you would like to get a tackle for Baker Mayfield. So I think Darnell Wright would actually be. I know a little bit, maybe a reach. I don't know. I mean, they're picking 19. So see, like a lot of these guys, it really just depends, right? So, but yeah, he's like 6'5". He's like 330 something. I believe he played both tackle positions, so he knows his way around. And he played decently well against Will Anderson when they played Tennessee, Alabama. And he looked really good in the Senior Bowl. So that's enough for me to say he's a first-round tackle.
All right, the New Orleans Saints. I've been saying this for years, but the Saints need talent on cheap contracts in the worst way. The Saints cap sheet, it's horrific. And I think finding gold at premium positions would be a huge help for them. But you don't have an early first round pick, so the Saints have to be spot on in their scouting here. I think you have to be thinking about an interior D lineman. You lost David Onyemata and Shai Tuttle, and you did sign Kalen Saunders, but is that really, there's still a hole there. You could also target a receiver in the middle rounds to pair with Chris Olave and Michael Thomas, who just got restructured. But at 29, look, the Saints made some massive moves in the offseason. I forgot to mention they signed Derek Carr. But again, they suffered some pretty significant losses on the defensive line. They traded Sean Payton to the Broncos, picked up some desperate draft capital.
Onyewata went to the Falcons.
Yep. So here, let's get a replacement on the D-line, Brian Brzee. I think he could come in and start for this Saints defense from day one, and I think he'd be a great value at pick number 29. So Brian Brzee is the pick right here.
I don't think he falls that far. That's my only problem. He's
I think
really
he'd
raw.
fall that far because of the health issues.
That's a possibility. Because I've seen teams be high on him, and I think he's either a reach or he's either a guy, as you said, falls. So, I'm looking at Mozzie Smith from Michigan. Again, I'm kind of staying with you. I agree with the whole D-line thing. I think everywhere else they're pretty solid. Safety, yeah. I mean, Marcus Williams' replacement hasn't been that good. Yeah. So I would probably stick interior defensive line. I'd go Mozzie Smith just because I think they could probably get him at 29. And I know that would be a reach, but just a lot of these guys I'm unsure with. Also, partly I didn't want to go with Brian Brzee as you did.
Okay. The Panthers, they have a new coach in Frank Reich, and after having 5 different starting quarterbacks over his final 5 years in Indianapolis, he wants stability. So Carolina traded up from the 9th pick in the first round to the top pick, so you have the option of Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. I will not entertain Richardson at 1. Beyond quarterback, Carolina can add to this young and talented roster with a receiver to pair with Adam Thielen. Last year, DJ Moore was the only receiver with more than 500 yards for the Panthers, and he's now in Chicago. So reinforcements are still needed there. Defensively, the Panthers need someone to help sack the quarterback opposite Brian Burns. So I think if you find an outside linebacker who can rush in the middle rounds, I think it's possible to find that. It's a deep class. But we're doing the first pick here, and as of right now, I mean, the opinions are fluctuating all over the place, but it feels
How about
like momentum is swinging now. As of rumors I am seeing today, momentum is swinging in the direction of Bryce Young to be that top pick in the draft. I think Stroud is the better quarterback, but I now think that Bryce is going to be the first off the board. He doesn't have ideal size for the position, but really, like, how often did that come up while he was dominating at Alabama? So he's extremely talented. He's smart. He is a playmaker. I think this decision will definitely be educated, right? But this is a move that if you're Scott Fitterer, if you're Frank Reich, you have to get it right. So I think they're going to go with Bryce Young here, but it's so up in the air.
Okay, this is obviously the team I've been waiting most about to talk the draft with. Okay, yeah. Look, I don't think you're gonna find a bigger Frank Reich fan than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone wakes up and says, "Hey, Frank Reich's my guy." But he is my guy, and yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm hearing, yeah, obviously, we all kind of see the same stuff across Twitter, across Instagram, things like that. And yeah, I'm seeing the odds kind of shift, seeing Bryce Young become, the quote unquote favorite. And look, I'm here to tell you right now, I completely disagree. And that is no knock on Bryce, kind of. I have him as QB3, and
Oh, wow.
I know that's gonna shake a lot of people, but I do, and it's not. Look, especially with, it's weird. I don't really bring up Cal or our team a lot, but I'm gonna bring it up here. Like, for example, we've completely shifted, and literally 3 of our quarterbacks are all under 6 foot. And so we've had to watch. I've had to eval all our guys. Love them. They're great people. But look, it's with any small quarterback, it's a problem throwing over the middle. That is going to continuously be a problem, no matter how good you are. And every quarterback who's under 6 foot that ever gets draft look, you're insanely accurate, right? And you've got a decent arm, and you can hit with good velocity on the sidelines. That's literally every single small quarterback's mold. And the only one that kind of had, or the ones that had a little bit more, were Kyler and Russell Wilson with the whole escapability thing. And yeah, Bryce has a little bit of that, but yeah, he's kind of banking on his whole really accurate thing. And I'm not denying it. I'm just saying that there's going to be problems with his height. Like, it's just how it is. The middle of the field is going to be hard for him to hit. We're seeing Kyler. We've seen Kyler struggle with that. Like, he led the league in completion percentage for games on end, but it was a problem. Like, there were clear times where Kyler just could not hit the middle of the field, even if it was open. And I think Bryce is just going to cause limitations that a team shouldn't really need to, or shouldn't want to have. So that's why I think I would take CJ Stroud. And I also do think CJ Stroud is a better passer. I think he can work in more schemes. I think he's got better footwork. I think I won't say more fundamental in the pocket, because I do think Bryce is that. But yeah, I think CJ is just a guy with a higher ceiling as well. So that's why I would go CJ. I mean, I guess if we're going on who they think is going to go with as of right now, yeah, I'm with you, Shriek. I think Bryce would be the pick, but I really hope it doesn't happen. I really hope that's not the pick. I will still love you, Frank Reich, but man, that's going to be a shot in the heart, because quite frankly, I haven't really ever disagreed with Frank Reich on anything he's done. So
yeah, I'm with you. I think Stroud is the most pro-ready. I think, to sum it all up, like, he's the most accurate, I would say, even over Bryce.
I think Bryce has got that. I really
deep ball. I think I'd give to Stroud.
Okay.
I think in the pocket, I would definitely take Stroud, as in, like, moving in the pocket.
Ooh, interesting.
But I don't know, man. It's Stroud is just the safer pick. It is what it is. But I don't know if the Panthers are going to want to opt for the safe option. This is why this draft is so hard to predict. But
well, yeah. So the thing is, I think the biggest key about us talking about Bryce and why he's going here is because he canceled his pre-draft visits. Like, that's a big deal. You don't really hear that from a quarterback, especially. So that is a pretty big deal. So I guess I'll just throw that out there, right? I mean, to do that, that's a little bit concerning.
It's not even about going 1. He's just secure with 1 and 2, so he doesn't have.
Yeah. There's no way. I don't see any way that he's not going 1 or 2. Same for. Well, the thing is, if he goes one, right? Yeah, I don't see. I think Stroud and Young are going to be the 1 and 2. They should be, rightfully so. And yeah, I don't think the Texans will have a problem picking either of them. But I think we already did cover the Texans. But yeah, I think Bryce would be a better fit for them. So that's just me. And I know it's weird, like Anish, you have him QB3, yet you still want him to go at 2 to the Texans, and then you think you'd be a better fit over there. Look, it's complicated. We're making a video soon on it, so we'll just leave it at that.
Quick plug. All right, final team in the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, this pick, I mean, we've kind of said that every pick is kind of like what's going to happen, but with the Falcons, like, I mean, I don't know. The Falcons need, I mean, you need another edge rusher to pair with Calais Campbell. The front office should rectify that early on if they don't select a quarterback in the first round. Atlanta was last in pressure rate, 31st in sacks. They do have an interesting secondary. You got A.J. Terrell, Jeff Okudah in that trade, but, I mean, a weak front won't help you there. So, still, the biggest need for Atlanta is quarterback. Marcus Mariota wasn't the answer, and neither Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ridder can keep the Falcons from looking to upgrade. So if Atlanta believes in a quarterback at number 8, they should select that player. But at 8, it's probably going to be Levis, so you may have to trade up. Otherwise, I think the Falcons should add young talent along the defensive front to create pressure. So at number 8, I'm going to assume there's no trade up that happens. So it's whatever player falls to 8. So I don't think it's going to go – I'm not going to go QB here. I'm going to go edge. And when I say this player, you might be wondering, wow, how did he slip to 8? But Tyree Wilson, I think this would be a slam dunk pick for the Falcons. I mean, that front office has been working overtime, completely reshaping this defense for 2023 and beyond. And Tyree Wilson can be one of those, key pieces to have them performing at a very high level moving forward. I mean, as I said, Atlanta's been terrible at getting to the quarterback recently. They have swung and missed numerous times on first-round edge rushers. Those edge rushers usually have a lot of upside, but Wilson may be the home run that they've been searching for. Really physical. He can win in so many ways against tackles. They did just sign Bud Dupree, but that doesn't stop me from taking Tyree Wilson, especially if he falls to 8. It's a big position of need and a great value here, so I think it's a steal to get Tyree Wilson at 8, but it's very possible that he could fall that far. It depends how a board would shake out.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say he doesn't, because I really don't think he does.
You want me to lay out a scenario for me in which he does?
Huh?
So I'll lay out a scenario, in which he does. Give me one. So Young, Stroud go 1-2. Okay, 3 is a QB. We'll say it's Richardson. 4, we'll also say is a QB or Will Anderson. 5, Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. 6, let's assume Lions go corner. So they go Devon Witherspoon or Christian Gonzalez.
And then you're saying 7. You say 7.
Gonzalez or Witherspoon. And then 8, Tyree Wilson.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a little bit less likely, but obviously if he's there, I'm with you, right? I'm just going to go for a little bit more practical. I think Lucas Van Ness would be the guy there available. I'm with you, yeah, Tyree is a better player, but I think Lucas Van Ness will be more likely. I'm going to throw out a scenario for you. Let's say, for some odd reason, Anthony Richardson's available at 8.
Take him.
Well,
take him.
I think hold on now. What if I tell you the Falcons trade that 8th pick to the Ravens, okay, along with some more capital for Lamar Jackson? Is there any?
I would also love that too.
Do you think there's any possibility that happens? And also, what would you rather do? Would you rather take A-Rich at 8 or give up the capital?
And Jackson. I'd definitely take Jackson because more of a proven commodity for one. He could slot in right away. Richardson might take a little bit of time for another. And then also, I get the capital thing, but if you're Atlanta, I mean, with everything you've done this offseason, they've been active, right? They've been very active. It would fit in line with their timeline, I think, a little bit more than Richardson would. And I'm not saying I wouldn't take Richardson. If he's there at 8, like, I would run to the podium and take Anthony Richardson. But this would be, like, Atlanta's guy. Like, I think he would just fit the culture in Atlanta. He would be the face of that franchise. I mean, it'd be perfect for the city. I think everything would shake up well for Lamar there. Is there a possibility of it happening? Certainly, I think so. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But there's definitely a chance. And if there is a chance, if I'm the Falcons, I take it.
Yeah, that's kind of summing up what I would say. I don't know if I necessarily. It depends on the capital I'm giving up because I also have to give him 200 mil. So, and keep in mind, right? Lamar has worked with a certain system. Now, Arthur Smith doesn't really run the same sort of things. And here's my thing with Atlanta, just looking forward and, just to address the needs. I mean, I don't really like their linebackers. I know they invested a little bit in it. I don't really like them still. And secondary, I'm actually really happy with. I think Jalen Hawkins is a beast. Shout out Cal, by the way. Jesse Bates is great, obviously. Casey Hayward and AJ Terrell. Now you have Jeff Okuda there. And yeah, I think I think an edge at 8 would be great. So I think the defense is actually a little bit better than what people think. Just get a linebacker in the middle rounds. But dude, they're just never going to be bad enough to where they get a game-changing player. Like they're always hovering around.
They're always stuck in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really hard, and you're right. Maybe Lamar can kind of uplift that a little bit. So I think if you have that opportunity, you should go for it. But the Falcons have been pretty clear. They're not doing it. They've had chances to do it, right? I mean, there was a time where Lamar requested a trade that was the heat of the moment. I mean, I think this is one of the most under-the-radar trade requests ever from a superstar. I mean, this is a former MVP who won it unanimously. So it's just pretty ironic what we're seeing. But I think we're agreeing, right? Edge would probably be one, and if a quarterback like A-Rich is there, you obviously consider Lamar or you take him.
Yep, I'm with you there. So I actually messed up in the intro of this video. I said we'd go east, north, southwest, but we went east, south, and now we're going to the north. So the NFC North, we're going to start with the division champs, Minnesota Vikings. No team needs a bigger defensive overhaul than the Vikings. I mean, they began all of that with Donatel going. Next, I think should be, kind of a renovation of the corners. The Vikings finished bottom 5 in yards per attempt against. Byron Murphy was a start, but I think you need a little bit more. And up front, Minnesota also needs some more punch. Danielle Hunter is still really good. What's happening with Zadarius Smith? Is he getting cut? Has that happened?
I think he's already released, if I'm not mistaken. So okay. I think he's gone. But yeah, Dean Lowry, I don't think is going to.
So you need an edge.
Start the season with Dean Lowry.
Yeah, you need an edge. It's a deep edge class, so you could maybe get a guy there. At 23, I've been seeing receiver a lot being mocked here, which I wouldn't mind. If a guy like Jordan Addison is there, I think it would make some sense. Get a guy to pair with Justin Jefferson. This is another place where I have no idea what they're going to do. I'm going to say Nolan Smith. If you want to attack edge, Nolan Smith out of Georgia, plays with a lot of physicality, a lot of tenacity. I think he'd be a nice piece because edge is, a premium now. So I think if you can address that at 23, I think you're in a good spot to keep building on that foundation.
You could also, I mean, would Miles Murphy be there? I think he could.
See, that's what I think Murphy would go earlier. That's why I was.
Yeah. Okay. So if Miles Murphy is there, I think you take him, and then I'll throw out the receivers. Zay Flowers with Minnesota's offense. Holy crap. Like Zay Flowers in that offense would go nuclear. I've talked to Vikings fans about this. I mean, I think, I've been wanting to talk about it. I think I love Zay Flowers. He's like 5'9", but my God, he is one of the most polished receivers I've seen. Look, Boston College, whatever. He's playing in Boston, whatever. He's crazy. I would love Zay Flowers to go to the Vikings. And if they can somehow get Miles Murphy, I would take Miles Murphy over Zay. But if he's not there, you take Zay Flowers.
Yeah, see, with Zay Flowers, it's sort of the best of both worlds. I mean, he's got the quickness, great route runner, great hands. He can really be effective out of the slot. But he's also got
so much pistol with him. Like that's going to be your ideal formation. You're going to put Jefferson on the outside. You're going to put Zay in the inside. You're going to run a lot of pistol. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, and he also has just top speed. He can, catch in traffic. Like He is a very, very well-rounded receiver. So I think that would be a great pick for Minnesota. Let's go to Detroit here.
Quick note.
Yes.
Dalvin Cook, they might release him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take Bijan if he's there at 23?
At 23,
If he falls, I don't know if he does, but if he might, right? Running backs,
do they still have Madison?
Yeah. So I mean, I've heard good. I mean, yeah.
If they still have Madison, I'd hold off.
Okay, I'm with you. I think they do also. I've seen mocks, and I actually I kind of solidified it in mine too. A trade up for Will Levis could be also a possibility. I mean, Kirk Cousins is on the final year of his guaranteed deal. Do you really want to go with him again in 2024 and give him another max? I don't think so. So that's also on the possibility table.
All right, let's move to the Lions. For the first time in years, the Lions have expectations, and to fulfill them, I think you need to find a top-tier edge rusher to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. They signed 2 corners and C.J. Gardner-Johnson in free agency. They traded for Jeff Okudah. I still think there's more work to be done for the defense, honestly. On offense, who is the long-term replacement for TJ Hawkinson at tight end? Detroit has its wideouts, but you need another target for Jared Goff across the middle and in the short game. Up front line, it's solid, but I think guard is a place where Detroit could upgrade. But honestly, I think you got to go defense here. And if you're at 6, with the trading of Okudah, I'm more inclined to say they go corner. So I'll go with Devon Witherspoon. They saw the emergence of young guys, but get more youth on that defense. So if you add a talent like Devon Witherspoon, I think this defense could really go to another level in 2023, and I'm hoping that's the case because I really like Detroit going into this year, but I'm just really scared because it's Detroit. But really, really, really could see the potential.
Yeah, so I'll answer your weapons question in the mid rounds. I think Luke Musgrave, if you can get your hands on him somewhere in the second round, he was a mentor for one of our guys that we got, JT Byron. And he had nothing but good things to say about him. He is really solid player. I know he had an undisclosed knee injury that cost him during the 22 season, but still was a really good player, and I think would be a really solid guy over the middle, as you were alluding to. I'm with you. I mean, I'm kind of just cleaning up your chops here, but yeah, Devon Witherspoon I think would be the perfect place at number 6. And yeah, for Detroit, it's so interesting, right? Like just to kind of look towards the future, I think Jared Goff is, a lot of Cal players bringing up today. I think he was great last year, right? So I mean, now the question is, how far do you want to go with him, and how far can he take you? So that's going to be a question that needs to be answered. And you're right, yeah, the Lions are actually coming in with some expectations this year. They really turned it around second half of 22. 23 is going to have some questions that need to be answered, and I think that the NFC North is wide open, right?
Yep. All right, let's go to the Packers. A very important draft for the Packers. You talk about, a wide open division. Like, what in the world is going to happen with Green Bay? You're facing a cap crunch. Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded to the Jets, I think. Like, can this just get done already? Like, I don't know what's going on, but Green Bay has to find a lot of cheap players who can replace these older, expensive veterans. So a good place to start is safety. Adrian Amos in free agency. Darnell Savage has been pretty uneven. So maybe a guy like Brian Branch, that can make sense. On the edge, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, but I don't know what's going to happen with Preston Smith. On offense, Packers have to consider tight end too. They lost Robert Tonyan in free agency, so maybe a guy like Dalton Kincaid would be a nice pick there, or Michael Mayer, whoever you want. But I guess I'll go with Dalton Kincaid at 15. I mean, I wouldn't mind Brian Branch either, but I think Branch goes a little bit later. It's just, it's kind of funny because throughout his Green Bay career, the Packers never really provided Aaron Rodgers with a top receiving threat in the draft. And people may think receiver, but tight end can be just as important and effective. So the Packers need to do everything they can to ensure that Jordan Love will be successful this season, and providing him with a guy as dynamic as Dalton Kincaid would definitely help. I think he's the best receiver of this tight end class. He would be a huge upgrade over Josiah DeGora. He's currently slated to start for Green Bay this year, so I think they're going to fill this need at 15. They go Kincaid.
I disagree. I don't think you go. I just can't see them going tight end. That's just not their biggest need right now. And I think if anything, yeah, Branch might be a big reach, but he's the best tackling. What do you call it? Safety in the class. And what do the Packers need? A strong safety that can tackle. So if they could put Brian Branch there. So yeah, I know I said he could go to Philly at 30, but like I said, man, I think this is the whole point of this video. A lot of these prospects can go anywhere. And I think that's why we're kind of just throwing these names out. But look, Addison, if he falls to 15, I don't know how you pass him up. I just don't know how. He would be such a good complement to Christian Watson. So that's also another thing.
What about JSN?
I think Green Bay can go. No, I don't think JSN gets to 15. I think he's gone by then. I think Addison would be the guy that's available there out of all the guys, honestly there. And I think you would probably want him. So Green Bay, and honestly, here's the problem, right? You want to get Aaron Rodgers so you can get draft capital right now. You don't want draft capital. I mean, maybe you could get draft capital later, right? You could get it for 24 and beyond, but I don't know. I mean, with a really deep class like this, I would consider, maybe getting the draft capital now. But yeah, as I think time leverages the Jets more because the Packers have to trade him, right? Yeah. So the Jets can sit up here and say, hey, we'll just play hardball with you, and fine. You go in with Aaron Rodgers, a guy who doesn't want to play for you. You have fun, right? So it just limits the Packers and what they can do. So that's what I'll say.
All right, and finally, the Chicago Bears in this division, holding a good amount of draft capital after trading the number 1 pick to Carolina. Ryan Poles, he's got options. He can trade back and acquire even more picks, or you can stay put and target your top needs, such as an offensive tackle or a pass rusher. Look, no team had less sacks than Chicago last season, and the lack of pressure there, it just kind of bled into the rest of the defense. So that could be an option there. And if we want to stay with the defense, the Bears need more help in the secondary. Well, Poles did spend his first 2 picks at corner and safety last year, but I think there's still more needs in that area, specifically at corner. But if you're at number 9, I think you go with an offensive tackle. And I think I had this in my mock that we posted on our Instagram, but Peter Skoronski, he wouldn't have to go far from Northwestern to Chicago to be that guy for Fields and the Bears. I either put him or Paris Johnson. Either guy I think would be fine for the Bears. But I'll talk about Skoronski a little more in depth. He did play left tackle at Northwestern. A lot of people are saying that he should move inside to guard at the next level. But the beautiful thing about this pick is that Chicago can literally play him wherever they want to. So at this point, I'm confident in saying that even as a rookie, Skoronski would be an upgrade wherever he plays for the Bears in 2023. I think they may try him out at left tackle and see if he sticks. Then worst case, you can always just bump him inside. And you should have a guy who could be a Pro Bowler very, very soon in this draft.
Yeah. So like I've been doing all of it, I'm going to clean up Shriek's chops and say, Skoronski is going to go at...
I'm so sorry.
Let me start on a couple...
I'll let you start on every team in the NFC West to make it up to you,
including your Niners.
Even the Niners.
Great, cool. So I can harp on Trey Lance then. Sweet, cool. Okay, that makes up for it. Yeah. So Braxton Jones was the guy that they picked in the 5th round, 22, to be their left tackle. I don't know if he's the guy, right? He's literally their only left tackle on the depth chart right now. So I think they're kind of getting in line to draft one, and I think Skoronski would be the guy. Yeah, I watched this film breakdown with Brandon Thorne, and man, he's great base, sets the outside anchor. Again, typical terminology for an offensive lineman. He fits it all. So, that's where I would go at 9. Obviously, Bears fans wants Jalen Carter. Again, I'm just concerned. I really am. And look, that's the problem, right? With a guy like this in a draft like this, he could go anywhere. And, the Bears could definitely take a chance on him. I don't know. You're right. That pass rush needs a lot of work. I'm literally looking at it right now. Oh my God. I wouldn't even be opposed to edge, honestly. So yeah, the Bears could go with a lot of pieces here, but I think you want an answer out of Justin Fields, and let's get his blind side protected.
All right. Let's move to the NFC West. I told you could start.
All right. Which team
Niners,
we going with?
Niners. We're going to start with the Niners here.
Right. Oh, are we going division win? Ah, okay. I see. I
Yeah,
see the
we're
trend.
we're going in order.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'll take the lead on this guy's team. Okay, look. We know how the Niners did, and we know honestly from top to bottom, I think they're probably, one of the top three, if not the best roster in football. So needs wise, I mean, honestly, even with the picks they have, like, look, linebacker's pretty set. I think pass rush is pretty set. Offensive line might be the way to go here just for depth. And Shriek, the fact that Matt Pryor is on your roster, I hope you guys have a really down season. My God, I don't know why he's been picked up. Seriously, I mean, like, look, just really not a fan. But yeah, the right side, right? Because you guys lost McGlinchey.
Yes.
So I think you guys are picking what in 29 or something, 28, right? Oh no.
We're picking
You
99.
don't have the first. Yeah, 99. Sorry, you don't have the first. I
Yeah.
forgot.
Or a second.
Yeah, yeah. So you do need tackle help. So if we're gonna go deep, we gotta go deep. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. So we're gonna probably go deep. Look, low key, if you could trade up and get Voorhees out of USC, I know he played interior, but you could put him at right guard, maybe move him. That's one guy to possibly think about. But yeah, I think you got to go tackle, right? Like I think that's probably where I would go. But man, yeah, you guys are picking 99.
Yep.
Jeez, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's what happens when you trade for Chris McCaffrey and a quarterback who's
Yep.
not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, of course.
maybe Tyler Steen. You can go Tyler Steen, but that's also a little bit of a reach. Syracuse, your Syracuse guy.
Yeah, Garrett Williams.
Did you mock him there?
Or Matthew
No,
Bergeron. Matthew Bergeron's going to go in the second round. Like he's not going to fall to that pick.
That's what I'm saying. You could trade up for him. I think you need to get a tackle.
but
Though.
I
I think
don't-
tackle is where you go.
Yeah, they could trade up. Yeah, I mean, you got 11 picks, so you have a whole arsenal there. There is an argument, again, for the Niners having the most talented roster in the NFL. I think I would make that argument. Still, free agency left some clear issues. You said it, right tackle. You got to fortify the right side of the O-line, but the tackle class is deep. On defense, I think John Lynch should focus on the backfield. Charvarius Ward was an excellent pickup last offseason, but Emmanuel Mosley left for Detroit in free agency. Jimmy Ward signed with the Texans. Both those guys need to be replaced. And considering all the big contracts in San Francisco, I think rookie deals would be ideal at those spots. One name that we didn't mention, two names that we didn't mention, Blake Freeland out of BYU. That's a name that I've been seeing around, but that's not even the guy I would have picked here. I was going to say Jalen Duncan out of Maryland.
Okay.
Look, I mean, Spencer Burford is penciled in at right tackle for the time being. Matt Pryor can help fortify the depth.
Don't
at this
even,
position.
don't even,
But
don't even.
but Duncan would obviously start over Matt Pryor. Like he's a freaky athlete. It'd be a great value for the Niners. You're not picking until 99, so I think if you're able to get Jalen Duncan here, I'd consider it a win. So not much to talk about in the first two rounds of the Niners, but one team that we can
Totally
talk
forgot.
about.
Okay, I want to apologize for brain farting there. I mean, I totally forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great because you traded for Trey Lance and don't have that pick, and then McCaffrey,
Yes.
I can totally understand though. So the second doesn't matter, but yeah. All right, you want to move on? What's
Yep.
the next team? Is it Seattle?
Yep.
All right, yeah. So Seattle's at pick 5. They're an interesting pick, and I've talked to a lot of Seattle fans about this. Look, I think edge is I'm just going to get straight to the point. I think edge is the way to go. I think you've got to go Tyree Wilson here at 5. If Will somehow slips to you, you take him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But they're in this very peculiar spot, right? Like they don't really have the opportunity to trade down. I mean, if I'm Seattle, I'm not fully opposed to that. But yeah, I think edge is the way to go. I'm just going to keep it short. I think if you can get Will Anderson, great. But there's no really point to trade up. And then unless a quarterback slips, but there's no one really you want to pass up at 5, if you get what I mean. So that's why they're in a peculiar spot. I think Tyree Wilson's the move here, though.
Yeah, I'm with you. Seattle has major ammo in the draft, starting with 5 and 20. And then you got 2 second-round picks. So Schneider could decide to add a quarterback, but if Geno Smith's coming off a Pro Bowl season, there's more pressing needs. There's no need.
And they also gave him the contract, right? So I
Yeah,
think,
so
all right.
you've got time for that. Look, no team had a better draft than Schneider last year, and I think this year he'd be smart to invest in the interior offensive line too. You found your tackles last spring. I mean, there are a lot of times this past season where Seattle was just overmatched inside. And if you're in a division with Aaron Donald, Eric Armstead, and now Javon Hargrave, I think that's a very pressing concern. And you could also add another guy to play with Draymond Jones and Jaron Reed on the D line. So I agree with you. I think Tyree Wilson, if he's at 5, you got to pick him. He's one of the best athletes in the draft on the defensive front. Just an absolute menace. Great length. He's got a lot of power. He's very quick. With that second first, I think they would go receiver.
That's what I was thinking too.
Maybe Addison. I think that would be a nice pick at 20.
Low-key, Zay Flowers would go crazy too here.
He just loves Zay Flowers.
But I think, again, I'm just envisioning pistol formation in Minnesota. I really want that to happen. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing mocks about Seattle going with interior O-line, but that could be a possibility. But I think you could wait on that, honestly.
Yeah, you could do it later.
Yeah, Seattle's, I mean, at 20, honestly, you could trade down too, right? Like there could be players that are available that people want to trade up for. So I would recommend trading down if I'm Seattle at pick 20, to be honest.
I would trade down, but I'd make sure I don't trade out of the first, you trade down a few spots.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade out of the first round. I wouldn't trade out of the first round, but I would definitely consider trading. Yeah. Corner is also an interesting one that I thought about. And I think a cool fit to be alongside Tariq Woolen would be Cam Smith. Yeah, honestly, I mean, this is a really solid team. I think people are underestimating their roster. It's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, their defense, if you look from top to bottom, especially with the addition of Draymond Jones, Jamal Adams is coming back. People, I guess we kind of forgot about him. Julian Love was a great signing. I think I talked about that in the free agency episode.
Yep.
Nwosu's kind of been great. Jordan Brooks. So, yeah, this is a really solid defense.
All right, the Rams. They are not picking until 36. I will let you start off here.
Oh yeah, you want me to
the Rams?
I do. I will always love the Rams. Sean McVay, Cooper Kupp, my guys. So yeah, the Rams picked 36, and there are some pressing needs, right? I think mainly corner. So you know what? Watch, I'm gonna double up and say Cam Smith again. I think I think Cam Smith is a good fit for the Rams. I think that's probably where you go here, just to kind of replace Jalen Ramsey. Yeah, I don't think Emmanuel Forbes slips to 36. Maybe you could reach and maybe go Tyreek Stevenson, but I would really like Cam Smith here if the Seahawks don't reach and take him. This is my whole thing with the whole prospects just being so deep this year. Possibly an O-lineman for the Rams. Maybe you could solidify that left tackle spot, because if Darnell Wright slips past into the 30s, early 30s even, I wouldn't be opposed to the Rams trying to trade up and get him. So
yeah, I'm with you. No team had a more disappointing year than the Rams. Okay, the worst title defense in the Super Bowl era. So the Rams need to attack the draft despite being without this first round pick. So yeah, I think you should be attempting to kind of work with this offensive line. It was very ineffective, and it was racked by injuries last season, so some depth would be nice there. Defensively, the Rams, they need to remake their linebacker core, especially after the release of Bobby Wagner. So I think that could be a good addition there. And finally, the trade of Jalen Ramsey to the Dolphins makes corner a very massive need. There is really not much proven depth behind him on the roster. So I'd say O-line, corner, or linebacker. If a really good linebacker like Drew Sanders or Jack Campbell or Trenton Simpson falls to the second round, I think that'd be a great pick right there. As you said, Cam Smith could be a possibility. Julius Brents out of Kansas State could be a possibility.
I think Jack Campbell slips in the third round. So yeah, Simpson would be the guy. Jack Campbell, please, you will be a Cleveland Brown. I'm begging. Please slip to where we're at. All right, yeah, so we'll move on to the final team. And actually, this is the team that I've been most excited to talk about out of any team. I'm not even kidding. It's the Arizona Cardinals, because I'm not even kidding. They're in such a crazy spot. Yes, we can talk about their team needs. Obviously, it's pass rush. They're clearly in need of that, JJ Watt being gone. But here's why I want to talk about them. So they're at pick 3, right? And there's so many scenarios they can go with this pick. Obviously, they're hearing from teams about Anthony Richardson. But I'm actually more concerned about the future. So right now I have them taking Will Anderson, and I actually think they should. I'm going to throw this at you. Do you think they should tank for Caleb Williams and just get rid of Kyler altogether? I am a very huge adamant about. I think they should definitely do that.
Yeah, I mean, everything is looking to be
They're
trending
one of the
that
teams
way.
that can do that. Like and Kyler doesn't come back till November,
Yeah.
right? So obviously he will be opposed to shutting him down for the year, but he's got his money. Like he has his deal, so he's got his guaranteed stuff. And the thing is, I think you'll find suitors. Someone will be out there looking for Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
I think you tank for Caleb. I think this is how you start your rebuild. I mean, look, the Cardinals had a really good roster in 21, but now everyone's leaving, right? They're getting older. Buda Baker wants out. DeAndre Hopkins wants out, right? Like your core players are leaving. I'm all aboard this tank for Caleb train. I think I think you've got to do it. I think this is something that they should definitely consider. I'm just going to throw that out there. Look, and I'm really torn on if they should trade down because I think Will Anderson just can't miss. Like, I get it. The thing
I'd stay unless you trade down with the Colts, then I think it makes sense.
I think if someone if the Titans gave you future first round pick, right? And they trade up from 11 to 3 if they really want Anthony Richardson because they're having a top 30 visit with them coming up. I think the team that you should trade down with is Tennessee, just because one, it's a big trade up, so they'll have to give a lot of capital for it, and two, you're building up capital in 24 so that you could potentially make a trade up for Caleb Williams if you can't get the number 1 spot. But I think as of right now, if I'm the Cardinals, I take Will and I tank for Caleb. I think that's what they should do.
Yeah, I mean Arizona is going to be horrific this year. Let's get that straight. So I do think they are going to tank for Caleb. Regarding this draft, I'd stay at 3 because Will Anderson is the best and safest non-QB in this year's draft class. So, and the Cardinals just so happen to desperately need a cornerstone building block off the edge. So I'd just secure that guy. You have a cornerstone on defense. Hopefully your cornerstone on offense next year with Caleb Williams, and your rebuild can set sail from there.
Yeah, I mean, Kyler's going to be tough, right? Like, because the thing is, I mean, he's got the money, and yeah, I mean, a lot of Cardinals fans still believe in him. But yeah, you think the Kyler experiment in Arizona is over too?
I think it's done.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and just too many injuries. That's probably one of the biggest things too. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this is another small quarterback that just really didn't set sail as a generational talent. Look, there's only been 2, Breeze and Wilson. Baker couldn't do it. Kyler, we thought could, teetering a little bit. That's why I'm a little bit concerned about Bryce. So yeah, the Cardinals were really a team I was really excited to talk about. I think this whole tank. I think if you can get Will Anderson here and Caleb Williams, because Will Anderson was basically he was a consensus number 1 pick starting in 2021. I mean, everyone kind of foresaw 2023 Will Anderson just going off the board in the top 2. So yeah, I think the Cardinals got to take him. That's what I would do. And I think that concludes it, right?
Yep, that's it.
There we go. We hit every team. Yes, this went a little bit long. Thank you so much for watching. If you stuck around, we'll put timestamps for your team or the division, so you'll know where you want to go. But yeah, a lot of draft prospects that we've just kind of had teetering all over the place. We'll kind of be more set in stone when we give you guys a mock draft, and we definitely will do that with the draft coming up. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We've been the Cold Hard Truth NFL podcast, and we will see you guys next time.